Well, the countdown is well and truly on. What a grand final this will be. It's two very different sides. You've got on one side of it, you've got the Penrith Panthers, who have obviously had that great success over the last few years. And then you've got the Broncos, who weren't even in the top 8 last year.
This could be the most entertaining grand final we've seen for a long time, especially the way the Broncos play with that high energy offload ad-lib footy. Now, the problem for Brisbane, if they get it right, they're going to be so dangerous. But if they get it wrong and make some boo-boos there, Nathan will just take charge, absolutely take charge, and starve them with ball and field position. So the risk-reward is pretty fine line for the Broncos. It is going to be a cracker. So if you're the Broncos, where are you looking to target the Panthers? Where are their weaknesses or where are their minor weaknesses? We saw Olam score a try attacking the right side. Isaac Tungwall has had that pec injury. But I just think they just play their own style of play. Yep. Just roll forward with power. Reynolds kicks and then get some offloads, which brings Reece Walsh into play. That's the key. I wouldn't worry about the opposition. I'd be going after our game, and their game's good enough. The Broncos, they've got so much strike. You've got to chase it. You've got to chase it because the Panthers aren't going to beat themselves. You know what you're going to get from the Panthers. They're going to create this pressure game. You've got to take them into an uncomfortable area. Some of the matchups are incredible. Edwards versus Walsh, the two halfbacks, Cleary and Reynolds, the middle forward battle. Like you've got Yo and Carrigan at lock, and then the two front rowers in Fisher, Harris, Leota, who dominated the game last year in the grand final up against Flegler and Payne Haas. Wow. Where do you see it? Where will it be won?
Well, I think you get flashy tries on the back of Reece Walsh. You'll get a try off Billy Walters when everyone's watching Reece Walsh and all the other players. He's done it so many times this year. And then on the other hand, you'll see Penrith just, march up the field and they'll get a quick play of the ball and they'll score with one of their wingers. I think at the end of the day, like Joey said, Broncos play with more risk, but when they execute well, it's nearly impossible to stop. They're that fast, it's nearly impossible to stop. Those middles, the middles Billy spoke about, those three on either side, they decide who wins.
There is a risk on not playing with risk, but if you don't go after the game, you've got to play footy. The one thing the Broncos need to get right, look, I think the Broncos can win this grand final. The one thing they need to get right is their goal line defence. If you look back to round 1, they won by 1 point, 13-12, low-scoring game. And then round 12, they meet again, and it was 15-4. So if the Broncos think they're going to score 40 points, I think they need to think again. They still need to go after their footy, but they need to get their goal line defence right. They need to stop tries.
They had some big saves last night. Ricky held up over on the left-hand side. They had the one where they held up the back row where they got the penalty. That was Walsh and that was Ricky. So I reckon they saved 3 or 4 tries last night, and that's been one of the features of their game, I reckon, this year.
You two guys coached Origin this year. Your defending against Reece Walsh, not on your line, but around that halfway line. When he gets the ball in those sweep lines, how would you be defending him?
Well, I didn't have to defend him.
But how? During Origin. Because in that area, defences are quite passive, and they, without boring people, and they try to get the halfback to get on that lead run and then double defend. But no one's quick enough to defend Reece Walsh.
You need to stop the play the ball. Like if you've got the quick play of the ball.
But that's all.
No, but what I'll say, if you've got the quick play of the ball, and Reece Walsh gets the ability to get to where he wants to, you nearly can't stop it. Well, it's nearly impossible to stop because he's too fast.
It always happens on the back of Payne. Payne goes and gets that wide field position, and they go pass. Reece comes around. No one can get a hand on him.
So you're worried about his speed?
I'm worried about his speed.
Yeah. So I'd be telling him... How do you stop him?
I'd be defending at centres all over the field, up and in. Don't be passive.
But then he'll play at you and play short. He's got every pass.
But you can't give him speed. You can't give him time on that edge.
And this is the tactical game that'll happen during the week. Adam Reynolds is the best kicker in the game, short kicker. So they might be anticipating that. And if they get a sniff of that early in the game, well, he's talking to Selwyn Cobbo and he's just putting a little dink over to the corner. I've seen that this year.
Because that's where Reece is doing his damage, on the halfway line. If you have a look, they go pass. He comes out the back on that sweep line. No one is quick enough to defend him.
There was a try set up in the Origin where he come around to the right-hand side and they jammed in perfect. The timing was perfect, but he still got the ball and went whoosh, hit the winger, we missed the tackle, he
Was that
scored.
in Adelaide?
That was in Adelaide.
First try in Adelaide.
And no one else, like now or ever, could have made that pass. Like he had no time.
He's got so many weapons in his kit bag, Reece. Like his speed's only one. His skill, his bravery to make a play and go for a play. Like he threw an intercept early in the game. Watini Zalesniak run 50 metres and scored.
Next time he double
the next
Well,
time he showed his footy IQ.
Yeah.
Next time he anticipated that and then he went short to Herbie Farnworth
Here
and
it
he
is.
scored.
Here it is.
But he didn't shy away from what happened. He would have been disappointed with himself when he threw the intercept. And that's the play there. You look at Dallin going up past the football, looking for that intercept again. And then he went back there and he fired the ball again. So he's not afraid to make a mistake, Reece. He's a little bit like Cameron Munster where, look, they'll be disappointed with what they've done and the error that they've made. But he's so brave that he'll go for his game
there
again.
It is, around the halfway line. You can't defend. So, Billy, you revolutionised the fullback coming around those sweep plays. How did you feel uncomfortable when they were defending you? In what way?
Well, I'm with Freddie. It's got to happen early. If they can get pressure on the ball players before the ball gets to Reece, then everyone can slide off. And looking at the Penrith Panthers, like Nathan Cleary slides off better than anyone else.
Do you think he can double defend?
I think he can double defend if he gets the support from his inside.
Yeah,
if he doesn't get the support from his inside, the pressure's got to come from the outside.
But there's going to be 2 or 3 opportunities each half where it doesn't matter what you do. Payne's going to play the ball in 3 seconds. They're not going to be able to get to Reynolds to make him play early.
Well, the pressure's got to come from the outside.
Yeah.
So you would defend up and in, even all over the field on him?
Well, it's the situation. You've got to feel the energy on the situation. If you're getting the energy from your inside support and they're putting pressure on the ball player, well, you're going to have that time to slide out and move with your defensive line. If you don't feel that energy and that ball player's going deep into the line, well, you've got to make a play. But you've still got to make the play after making the decision. You've got to shut the ball down. He can move like that.
This conversation is going on at Penrith at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The coaches are in, Nathan's in with them, the edge defence, and they're all talking how we're going to defend.
The key is knowing where he is too. You've got to know where he is because he'll be here or there. And then there's a lot going on in the defensive line.
Well, he wears those pink pants. That's the one thing I'd tell him to stop.
And
Get rid of the pink pants so I can see him. I said that to Joe.
Well, that'll be Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards and the wingers will have a huge job. They'll be communicating where their threats are. But we saw it on the weekend.
Well, it's going to be
We saw Reece Walsh and Adam Reynolds out to the right-hand side, and they went short side to Ezra Mam, and he went bang off his left foot. So they've got so much strike, the Broncos.
That's who's under pressure. The people who do have to do a good job for Reece Walsh is your front rowers, your markers. If they can start that process by winning that first pass, then all of a sudden that gives Nathan an extra second or a split second or the winger to fly in. So it's once again, it's those middle people. Like Fisher Harris, he's first 31 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like if you just watched him, like very rarely anyone at home would have seen his game, what he did, but he made big plays, ran at Harry Grant, ran at the hookers, chased all off the marker perfectly, got off the line and chased it onto the ball player so they had to play early. The work they got done through the middle, and that's where Penrith are better than anyone. That middle area, how mobile they are, they just they give Nathan the time.
But what were you saying before, Joey, saying that this is the conversation that's going to be happening at Penrith? Can you see Penrith working out a way to do it and not just working it out, being able to execute the plan?
I can remember a story when the Storm beat the Bulldogs and James Graham revolutionised they were playing out the back, the front rowers. So what Craig Bellamy did, the first defenders off the ruck is normally from the markers about 2 metres. He widened it to about 3 or 4 metres, which gave the outside defenders more room because James wouldn't really dummy and go himself. So this sort of strategy is going on at Penrith right now.
That was a grand final won in the meeting room.
That's exactly
the tries we scored in that grand final were all sit down. This is what the defence does. Let's put this play on. This defender's going to do that. We'll find space there. All 3 tries came off that exact scenario. And what we changed there, back in 2012, everyone went and put pressure on halves to make them play early. No one put pressure on ruck forwards to make them play early because not many ruck forwards played.
Like James Graham.
Graham, Sam Cassiano, and they were creating the space for Ben Barber out wide. So we changed it and treated them like halfbacks and went out and put pressure on them.
Won the grand final. So this is the strategy is going to go into stopping Reece. It's intriguing. I'd love to be sitting in those meetings go too long.
Could you imagine, but when they say, Mitch Kenny, you got the job, you've got to fly up on Payne Haas.
Oh, he'd go, he'd rub his hands together.
That's what I mean. Like, that's the job, right, Mitch, for us to do well out there.
If you miss him, you've got to get Flegler next. If you miss him, you've got to get...
And they can't offload on you.
It'd be interesting to go have a look how Nathan defended Reece Walsh at origin level.
He did all his damage really over the other side. Like, if you think of most of the tries, they went over Toto and Crichton in Adelaide.
They slipped, didn't they?
Yeah, it was pretty slippy. They scored 2 in the first half and then the one I spoke about earlier. So they pretty much were on the other side.
And we're talking about a set structured play for Reece and shutting that down.
Yeah.
The most damage he was off an offload and then just find the space, react to it and hit him. And he just showed electric speed. So there's all forms of the game. Kick returns. You've got to be on your game all the time for a guy like Reece.
So they're good at that. Like, they'll have to work somewhere else. And what you just said, I thought, if Penrith looked vulnerable, I thought it was on their injured players, or a couple of times Harry Grant made some metres through the middle. I reckon they'll be sniffing there for sure.
Oh, this is going to be some almighty
Can't
match.
wait.
We cannot wait.
With the finals around the corner, NRL on 9 has you covered.
From match highlights, press conferences, don't forget, Freddie in the 8.
Of course.
NRL on 9 has you covered for everything. One-stop shop.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a moment.